After 3 years waiting and being excited about this game, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk has released. While being excited and eager about its upcoming release, I also feared it would never live up to my memories and expectations of playing Jet Set Radio when I was just a teenager. I was worried Team Reptile would just fumble and mess up the hype cycle that this game was building up towards, even though in the past I stated, if anyone were to make a Jet Set Radio-esque game, it would be Team Reptile. Jet Set Radio is a game I cherish wholeheartedly despite only ever really playing the first game and never its requel Jet Set Radio Future outside maybe an hour or two. But growing up, playing Jet Set, or rather Jet Grind Radio on the Dreamcast was a weird memory I have that still holds up. Being able to experience a game like that in my early teens was an influence and an inspiration to me, and it made me enjoy a lot of different media. The soundtrack was both great for its time and oddly ahead of so many musical curves even today. Songs like Sneak Man and Funky Dealer are still recognizable as innovative pieces of music to this very day. The fashion, the character designs, the iconic visual style all made this game look one of a kind. By today's standards, this game still holds up. Even with my lack of real history with Jet Set Radio Future, that game only enhances these aspects to 11, including the gameplay. I remember always wondering what a third game in the series would look like. It was sad to see projects like Jet Set Radio Evolution go down like a sunken ship because Sega, quote-unquote, had plans. But the games that always were the closest to replicating the style to me were Splatoon and a much more obvious one, Lethal League Blaze. I mean, the composer of both games even had a hand in helping out for a song in that game, and it only added on to my theory that I stated earlier that Team Reptile, the developers of Lethal League, will be the ones to carry that torch and be successful at making the next generation of Jet Set Radio. A spiritual successor, if you will. Did they succeed?
You gonna dig this?
I feel worthless and you're too afraid to say so.
As stated, Team Reptile are developers I am very familiar with, seeing as one of my favorite party fighting games is Lethal League Blaze, and its original version as well. I spent so much time enjoying this game, and it all stemmed from the fact it was a fighting game, and the visual style and musical choices all felt similar and nostalgic to me. It felt like Jet Set Radio or just Dreamcast kinda era stuff. But back in 2020, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk was announced to the world full of style and a sense of identity in this 14-second trailer. This was such an exciting time. Over the next few years, trailers dropped sporadically, showing more of the game's world, music, and even other modes of transportation. Each trailer is getting more and more publicity than the last. People who were like me who wanted to delve into a Jet Set game or something similar, and even others who never even knew this was something they wanted, were all getting excited. While all this internal and somewhat external hype was happening, I did have fear and some apprehension in the back of my mind. This game looks amazing, it sounds like God, and man, I just want to be able to have a dev take this genre to new heights. The game finally released after all the waiting, and even installing other games similar to build up the hype. The day came. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk released. And my first impressions? It's amazing.
We only getting started. Yeah, I got the light. He got the light. We got the light. What you know about it? So much light. More light than a spike in your power bill. Or a match when it strike, we devour ill. They don't know how to feel. Their minds purple mental gangbangers. Never saw losers while we game changers.
What's up, dog?
Rearrange strangers with the
I never recorded my first initial reaction to this game as I was rushing home from work to boot this game up like a kid coming home from school, but it felt like an event. And even seeing them add Lethal League DLC to this game with characters like Jay and Bass, obviously if you played Lethal League you would know their actual names are Jet and Switch, but technically Jay and Bass are based on Jet and Switch, so take that with what you will. From the moment I was in control of the game to the main character's head getting cut off in the most stylish way possible, I'm not even joking. This game sets to be very, very good.
It's the hard part, restarted the lost art. Can make a smash from the mouth, I'm an all-star.
After getting your head chopped off, you awaken in the hideout to easily one of my favorite intro scenes. The tone, the music, the colors, it all stands out so much and makes this memorable. Waking up, you now have a robotic head with a separate consciousness known as Red. And while things are confusing, the Bomb Rush crew have two goals in mind. One, to get Red's head back and find out who his identity was, and two, to go all city. If you don't know what going all city is, it's basically being known for your graffiti writing skills across an entire area or city, tagging every spot you can and making yourself known to rival gangs or average city folk. From this point, the story goes into learning more about the rival gangs and some of their stories. Gangs like the Franks, who have these hybrid stitched up bodies like Frankenstein, hence their name. Plus, the guy who actually takes these once injured individuals and fixes them is known as the Flesh Prince. Futurism is another gang who works with DJ Cyber, the guy who, you know, cut your head off, and are deemed the final gang and the ones that have the largest grip on New Amsterdam, the city this game takes place in. You also have other gang members like the Old Heads, who are just these older guys who in their youth more than likely were all city or are very good writers in their prime. I love the designs for them, especially with the one with the mechanical head, which immediately made me think of MF Doom. Maybe I'm alone on that one though. I just love the outfits they wear and how silly they are, plus their name being that of older hip-hop fans. To me, many of the characters seemed very interesting from the jump, always doing a dance when speaking, just like old times, and I was very much used to it, so it wasn't jarring. I loved meeting all the gangs though, and think each has their own sense of identity and personality, like a moment meeting the .exe crew, who are these robotic head-clad crew who use a lot of LOL or LMAO in their regular dialogue. There was a moment when I was going through the story, and bear in mind I hit a crazy high combo at the time of 28 million or something. And then go to this little moment in the story and being like, yeah, so this guy can't even hit 100,000 points. He's been stuck on 98,000 for the longest time. Made me and my friends die in laughter because I just obliterated that score within like seconds. The delivery and the way that scene was handled and the timing, it made my night. But just know the story does get fairly good. It was something I wasn't expecting in the long run. It's not forgettable, not like super groundbreaking or life-changing, mind you, but it was enough to make me curious about a lot of the characters and their ambitions and keep me going forward with the actual story rather than being just a crazy combo fiend. Speaking of which, you want to hit some crazy combos? The gameplay in Bomb Rush Cyberfunk to me is absolutely sublime. From the very start you get a skateboard and just moving around in the world, it feels so familiar and natural to me. Grinding on rails, pulling off tricks, and being able to express yourself in the way you traverse these levels is enough. This game has 3 modes of transportation: inline skating, BMX biking, and skateboarding. All 3 feel different, but at the same time, not. Different animations and some slightly different hitboxes making use of each of these vehicles feel like a nice change of pace if you stick to one mode of travel for too long. I wasn't expecting these to be super different than one another, and wasn't disappointed, and am glad actually. Traversing in the world though, you do get some differences in terms of unlocking secrets with each mode of transportation. Shattering glass below is done by sliding with inline skates, fire hydrants you use your skateboard to spin around and get to higher places, and the best one. What do you think you do here? But traversing in these large playgrounds of levels, the team wore their inspiration on their sleeve for them. I love the designs though, and how each level progressively adds more crazy ways to combo that you likely, when playing, didn't think of or were even possible at that time. But going back, now you're like, oh, I can actually grind that rail and jump over here and do all this other stuff, and it can extend my combo in all these sorts of new ways. I spent so much time ignoring the story, and once I had a grasp on how combos work and how to string them together, I just traversed the maps and figured out my optimal lines and just saw how far I could take it. Seemingly, as the current 3 best scores I have are all above 100 million, so quite high. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk's gameplay feels like it's taking the good elements of your favorite song. It's taking the best parts and things that made Jet Set Radio's graffiti tagging system so unique, and actually fleshing it out more. Like, I mean, you can actually choose your graffiti now, rather than hoping you get one you like, which is nice. At the same time, it's not sacrificing the fun minigame you got from the original JSR either, which is one gripe many had with Future. It's taking the open world-esque approach that Jet Set Radio Future utilized, and made the world and levels interconnected, unlike the original Jet Set. On top of that, the trick system is actually fleshed out, unlike Jet Set Radio Future, and it's actually inspired by Tony Hawk games. While I have zero experience playing these games, I always heard and saw how crazy some of the combos can get, and with some quality of life adjustments, yeah, this game feels like the best parts of all 3 of these games combined. They even added combat to this game, along with a wanted level of sorts. I have heard mixed feelings on these additions, where people like the idea, but its execution is 50-50. Though the idea of riling up enough cops by tagging walls and asserting the BRC as all city is exciting, and these additions only fleshed it out further, to me at least. Over time, as you get more and more of the stars, the police get desperate, so they send out turrets that launch chains out and pull you back. They send out helicopter-looking drones, hire snipers, and send out giant metal gears to go after you. This is an evolution compared to what came before, and I love the combat despite wanting more out of it. There have been ways found out for combo extenders and different move properties, but as someone who loves action games, this was something that I didn't have any expectation towards, but would have loved to see enhanced, or at least told more about, since I can get fairly technical with what the game already gives you. I will say the fault I have, despite wanting more of the combat system, is the police at points get extremely annoying and almost avoided tagging things while going for combos to make sure I was uninterrupted. Though on the flip side, it adds some high risk, high reward challenge in groups where you're taking turns seeing who can get the highest combo while the police are after you. Other than the small gripes, the gameplay in Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is borderline perfect. I would know because I have about 75 hours into the game already. Each level gets progressively more fun than the last, but it never makes the previous stages any less fun. I can go to the final stage and still find creative new paths and lines in the other levels just because. The amount of fun challenge ideas that this game poses too makes me so excited about the game's longevity and replay value. My friend and I took turns seeing who can get the highest score in the hideout in 5 minutes, and it was so much fun and taught me what lines I should optimally take. This is only the tip of the iceberg though, and it makes me eager to see the fun ideas I could or the community comes up with for keeping this funky game alive. Outside of the obvious, which is speedrunning, but that's still sick. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk has been one of the most stylish games from the get-go. trailer after trailer showing off its unique and nostalgic take on its inspirations. The fundamental importance of this game for me is within these visuals and songs. This game looks like a Dreamcast or early Xbox game in the best ways possible. The cel shading, thick outlines, the fact all the dancing, which for the characters are done 24/7 it feels like, is all motion captured rather than animated. This game looks like something from the past, but at the same time something brand new, like an alternative reality where instead of Jet Set, we got Bomb Rush. The character designs and outfits are so neat too, focusing on modern fashion and even bringing back fashion elements of earlier eras as well. Some characters look very unique, like the .exe crew, Futurism, and for specific characters, I love the look of Irene Rivetfield. Her booster is a literal rocket, and that's just fucking awesome. I feel like I went out of my way to find and interact with each character to unlock them. And while it's not super in-depth as something like Jet Set Radio Future, which involved getting the jet rank on a lot of challenges for certain characters, I don't mind it, since most of the time you get these little mini missions to unlock them, and sometimes change the map a tiny bit. Like with Mesh, who drops his skateboard into the river near a bridge in Brink Terminal, and allows you to go ahead and get to know him a bit, drain the water, and a whole other section underneath that river is available to play in, vert ramps and all. Or other characters, like Rise, who want you to be her photographer, even though the best camera we have is a flip phone. Though with all these unique character designs, I am still attached to Belle, and view her as the modern take on Gum. I love her so much, guys, you don't even understand, like, oh my god. The graffiti is very good in this game, by the way. Like, wow. Some of these designs, in comparison to the graffiti I see plastered on trains when out in public, is so much more unique and varied. So many of the artists that got their work put into the game from an event hosted by Team Reptile, and even some of the graffiti submitted by the lead dev, Dion, are so fucking good. The amount of dedication these artists and members of the team went to nail this look of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is commendable, and every little detail helps make the world not only feel like you would have played this in your childhood, but a new spin on an old formula. I love it. However, the music is another element that also stood out so much when both waiting for this game and playing it. I remember frantically waiting to see what artists would be composing music for this game, and trying to make songs inspired by Jet Set Radio for fun, hoping this silly girl would even have a shot in the first place. I didn't make it in, but hey, Team Reptile, check this song out. As someone who loved the music found in these older games, this one had a lot to live up to, and to be quite honest with you, it really exceeds in every way. The music genres vary so much, yet are all intertwined in their own unique ways.
Billie Jean, you can see the light. Every step that I take, walk with a glow kept to my fate. Like this, like switch, like this, priceless. Like this, like switch, like this, priceless. Hit the light switch if you need a light switch. Like this, right quick for the night shift. I got the light, we got the light, we got the light switch.
This song, in my humble opinion, takes the cake being my favorite song in this whole game. And it just plays within the first couple minutes upon playing. And it brings back to the days when I was just getting into hip-hop around 2012 and 2014, with artists like Kill Bill the Rapper, Rav, Uhabes, and even J Dilla and MF Doom. It reminds me of works by Specifix, or even something that I would have heard from the Boondocks even. The amount of happiness this song gives me while playing it in-game and even outside of Bomb Rush is unparalleled. It's now becoming a sort of go-to song for me if I can't really decide what I want to vibe to. The production, the lyricism, and the overall tone fit the world of New Amsterdam, especially at the very start, so well. Out of all the concept soundtrack playlists I saw on YouTube, I always saw music from the artist 2Mello thrown in there, and for absolutely good reasons. The two albums they are most known for are directly inspired by Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future. Several songs they make almost feel like a new age Hideki Naganuma, or something that he would make nowadays. And from the little pieces of information I found from interviews and everything, 2Mello seems like a very genuine and humble artist. They also made music for other games as well, and even getting a song in Celeste for the Mirror Temple's B-side level, and Sackboy's Big Adventure. The song that got into Bomb Rush was I Want to Know, and wow, this song is a certified banger from start to finish. I remember seeing people play this over footage of the game, and now playing Bomb Rush and getting to the Millennium Mall and having the song play made me so damn happy. The song is so energetic, full of breakbeats, great vocal chopping, and sample chopping that gives this unique sound that I can't quite put on my finger. Whatever it is, this song and even modding other 2Mello songs into Bomb Rush fit into this game's world too well. Not saying Team Reptile should add more, but you know. Where was I? Oh yeah, the synths used here were too good as well, and this song just never gets boring, and it almost feels like it's adding and layering new ideas into every section, subtle or not. So while I know Hideki Naganuma has 3 amazing songs in this soundtrack, I feel like so many people will gush about his music, which rightfully so, it's incredible. But I want to discuss a song that maybe didn't get as much love, but the moment it showed up on the trailer for the Nintendo Direct, my jaw dropped.
We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. We got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride.
The amount of excitement I had when I heard this song and just spent hours listening to the 1-minute loop the trailer gave us was very high. I loved the production, the booming bass and loud kicks, all the wild percussion and automation used in this song. It felt like the perfect song to really show sick footage of this game with, and blended in so effortlessly to the world of New Amsterdam. The vocal work done here as well keeps this song glued together and only enhances an already well-produced instrumental. And as a producer, I just felt so inspired to make songs in a similar vein for fun for a small time. Hearing it in-game and unlocking the song too only empowered me to finally hear the full version and get some crazy combos while this song blared. High energy with such an industrial and hip-hop fused instrumental was not on my Bomb Rush Cyberfunk bingo card, but I am so glad it's here. The little bleep bloop synths that complement this large booming bass also is a nice way to tie the song together along with the vocals, making this song, like the others chosen for this game, sound like it just belongs here. I'm a huge fan of Big City Life, and while I have had no history with Kid Knievel's other work, I will have to go back and check some of their stuff out sometime very soon. There is a list of the best songs in this game, but I would end up naming about 95% of the soundtrack altogether. I love the idea of having this mixtape of different artists and genres all strung together and played throughout certain parts of the city that feel fitting. It all feels like an abstract art piece, but really listening to how these songs all mix and blend into another feels right. The two most important aspects of this game were met in spades in my eyes, and honestly those were elements that were going to carry this game, and it really does amplify it tenfold. While I would have loved a character similar to DJ Professor K or a radio broadcast, this game takes place in the future, and with music streaming services being the norm now, it makes sense why they would do it this way. I mean, you could always mod in music and add fun radio transitions too. Speaking of which... where do I even begin? The amount of talent that mod creators have in this game has blown me away. This obviously will change and evolve over time, and likely in the year's time this section will be dated, but let me just say that a multiplayer mod made by Not Night was made within the first week of this game coming out. That's crazy. The fact that I and many others thought of how cool it would be being in the same server, cruising around and hitting combos like no tomorrow online was such an awesome idea. So to have that really happen within the first week is showing off how fantastic and dedicated this community is. My small little gripe with the combat was alleviated with a mod already too, adding more style and flair to the base game's core combat, an area that likely won't ever get patched, and this is just a cool option to have for PC players. I've not tested it myself, but watching what can be done now is enough to make me want this and as an official update, even if it'll never happen, and spend just hours and hours messing with the police in the most stylish way possible. Custom models, skins, a music mod that even adds in the UI elements of the base game seamlessly, tons of small quality of life options, and tons more that are being added every single day, makes this game's longevity stronger and stronger. This, in my eyes, doesn't make the console version of this game obsolete by any means, but at the same time, the amount of game you can still get after with even just the multiplayer mod by itself is enough to recommend the PC version over anything else, if that's something you care about. While not being a mod creator myself, looking at all the effort that goes into making these mods makes me more eager and excited to see how it'll help the game prosper and live past the usual 1 week gamer brain syndrome. Because, you know, new games come out and people will just move on. But I still see many people creating and making things, so I just want to see this game's mod scene flourish, or maybe make some funny jokes about being at Jake's.
Hey, yo, what's up?
Yo, I'm at Jake's. Where y'all at?
Bro, I told you. We at Jake's.
Waiting over time for another shot for Jet Set Radio to come back into the public eye has been an arduous wait, to say the least. I almost feel like a crazy person every time I mention this game, because some people will critique the gameplay because it's dated, which true, but the style and the passion that went behind the original Jet Set was something that was infectious and really influenced me as a teenager. It has been over 21 years since the last game, Future, was released. And while inspirations and style are lovely, I always miss the genre this game set out to trailblaze, and while not fully creating, definitely being the most stylish to do it. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a game I cannot recommend enough already. I have played the Switch version and the PC port, and have had a blast traversing the city of New Amsterdam and learning about the story, the characters, comboing endlessly, and adoring the art and music direction this game undertook. I hate comparing this game to the obvious, but I did so plenty in this video, and in no way is it to undermine Bomb Rush, but to praise Team Reptile for taking the long forgotten and unlit torch, lighting it, and going forward. And I can't wait to see where the team goes with the series next. While I have my small nitpicks, the modding community, and I'm sure with future updates from Team Reptile, this game will become even more incredible. This game might not be for everyone, and I'm okay with that. It's already won me over, and that's enough. Can't really think of anything else here, so yeah, play Bomb Rush, it's really good.
Ooh, you gonna dig this?
Oh yeah, you should probably drink some water too.